Hi loves, welcome to your reading. If you clicked on this, then you already know why you're here today. This is going to be a general collective reading. So as always, make sure to use your intuition, take the messages that resonate with your situation and gently leave behind whatever doesn't fit. We're going to begin with an astrology card to set the tone and guide the energy of this reading. From there, we'll dive in to see what's going on with the person on your mind right now. So whether this is someone you're currently connected to, someone you've been thinking about, or simply someone whose energy is tied to yours, we're going to tap in and get some insight into where they're at and what's surrounding them in this moment. So what we've got showing up here is the 9th house with Saturn. Okay, so right away, we're looking at lessons connected to belief systems, higher learning, and personal philosophy. Then Saturn shows up again in the 1st house, which tells me this lesson is directly tied to how someone presents themselves to the world, their outer mask, or even the way they identify with their ascendant energy. There's definitely a bit of tension here, because it feels like someone's inner world, what they truly believe, what they're learning, what's being upgraded within them, is starting to clash with how they've been showing up on the surface. This is about authenticity. Saturn is asking, are you really living in alignment with the person you're becoming, or are you still performing the version of you that no longer fits? Now, when I clarified why this square energy was coming up, we got the 9 of Swords. That's telling me someone is really in their head about this shift. Anxiety, overthinking, late-night worries. It's like the old identity doesn't feel comfortable anymore. But stepping into the new self feels just as scary. Then we have Judgment and the Queen of Cups. This is powerful because it shows that love, compassion, and maybe even a deep emotional connection with someone has triggered this whole transformation. It feels like love, or at least emotional awakening, has been the catalyst for this person to re-examine their beliefs. The Judgment card says they can't go back to the old way of seeing things, and the Queen of Cups shows that heart-centered energy is guiding them forward, even though their mind is restless about it. So overall, what I'm picking up is, someone is experiencing a major internal upgrade around their worldview, their faith or their philosophy of life, and it's forcing them to shed the old mask they used to wear. It's uncomfortable, but it's part of their growth. Well then, let's talk about this Saturn energy showing up here. We've got a couple cards on the table, the Knight of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, Ace of Swords, and the Devil. Okay, let's see where this is headed. Bottom of the deck, we've got the Ace of Cups, and right behind that sits the Queen of Wands. So here's the vibe. Someone is being confronted with a truth, a piercing clarity around an old, outdated belief system. It feels like this person might have once believed they never wanted to settle down, or that love wasn't for them. But Saturn lessons don't let you just bypass that. They stick until you do the work. And for this person, it's been a long, slow unfolding. Knight of Pentacles energy all day. I'm also picking up hints of mother wounds here, especially with the Queen of Pentacles sitting next to the Devil. That combination feels like deep conditioning, a karmic loop around how they relate to stability, nurture, and commitment. But then, here's the kicker. This person has genuinely fallen for you, and that falling in love is part of their karmic lesson. It's like Spirit handed them a mirror through you, and it shook the foundations of what they thought they believed. The Tower is sitting right behind that Queen of Wands, and the 5 of Swords behind it. So there's this moment where you, just by being yourself, spotlighted their short-sighted behaviors, the ways they were sabotaging or selling themselves short. How you two met feels important, like it wasn't random. There's a sense of divine setup here, something orchestrated to bring this belief system to the surface and crack it open. All right, let's talk about the 1st house energy here. We've got the Page of Cups with the 4 of Swords at the bottom of the deck and the Queen of Pentacles showing up as well. Right away, this feels like something tied to intuition, an inner nudge, an emotional opening, or even the first steps toward trusting their inner voice. It gives me the sense that this person has been living in a way where they wore a mask, almost playing a role in their own life. But now that role is no longer sustainable. Their intuition is awakening, and it's awakening because of you, or at least through your connection. We also have the 8 of Swords and 4 of Pentacles. That tells me they're feeling restricted, holding back, and yes, a bit nervous about all of this. With the 3 of Swords and Page of Swords, it's clear they're carrying fears of heartbreak, fears of repeating old wounds. So, what did they do in the past? They created their own belief system, a sort of shield, convincing themselves they didn't need closeness or vulnerability. That casual, surface-level energy was safe. But here's the shift. That belief is no longer holding up. It's being challenged. They're realizing that surface-level connections can't satisfy the soul. The first house is about the self, the identity, how we show up in the world. And for them, it feels like they're being called to show up authentically for the first time. And you? It seems you're the catalyst for this change. You triggered something deeper within them, a desire to look past the mask and move into truth, into depth, into a more genuine kind of intimacy. Why is the trine showing up here? Well, we've got the Knight of Cups, because this person caught feelings. And that simple act of catching feelings seems to have shifted and upgraded an old belief system they've been holding on to. With Temperance and the Two of Pentacles, it's clear something inside of them is finding balance. They're weighing things, they're reassessing, and a new harmony is trying to form within. But here's the catch. It doesn't quite align with the lifestyle they've built for themselves. The people they've surrounded themselves with, the environments they're comfortable in, the routines they've created. All of that feels at odds with what's awakening in them. That's where the square comes in. With the Chariot and the Five of Pentacles, there's this fear of loss. For some, it's even a worry that stepping fully into this change could bring financial strain or leave them out in the cold in some way. When I look deeper into this square, it's almost amusing because Spirit repeats the message again. The Nine of Swords shows up. So we're not meant to have more details. It's already clear the anxiety is real. It's the mental unrest that comes from knowing their heart doesn't match their old way of living anymore. At the bottom of the deck, the Lovers and Death remind us this connection wasn't random. It was designed to shift them, to awaken something new. Yes, it requires a death of the old, but what follows is a rebirth. That's exactly the process they're caught in right now. Tell me about the ninth house. Yeah, we've got the Tower showing up again. This really confirms it. Their belief systems are being completely dismantled, leveled out, and upgraded. It feels chaotic, it feels confusing, and it's definitely shaking up this person's energy field. But this shakeup is necessary because they're coming online to new truths, new awareness, things they can't ignore anymore. Tell me more about this Tower. The Five of Wands. Exactly. There's conflict both internally and externally. It's stirring up tension in their life, but in a way that's ultimately good for them. This isn't the kind of conflict that destroys. It's the kind that clears space, that forces growth. They actually like what's happening deep down, but they also recognize that it's pushing them far outside of what has been normal for them. Strength at the bottom of the deck and the Six of Swords. Yes, this tells me they're going to need courage and inner confidence to move forward with these changes. They know it's not going to be easy, and they can sense that certain people around them may not support this transformation. Still, there's this quiet determination in them to keep progressing, to keep moving toward what feels authentic, even if it means leaving behind old patterns, beliefs, or even relationships. All right, loves, let's dive in. You know what? I'm actually feeling called to pull from the situational oracle here because it feels like today's message is going to be a little more pointed, a little more specific for someone out there. So let's see. What's really going on with this person from their perspective when it comes to the collective energy? Okay, so first thing we have is perspective. And this makes sense. They're going through a massive shift in the way they see things. Their whole belief system is being restructured, upgraded, and it's not a small change. It's big. It's shaking the foundation. We already saw that Tower energy earlier, right? So it's confirming here. This is an emotional storm. It's chaotic, it's messy, and it's not easy for them to navigate. There's conflict brewing around them, both externally in their environment and internally in their own mind and heart. But here's the thing. As painful as it feels, this is a major soul lesson for their growth. That's the energy of those squares we talk about in astrology. The challenges, the hard lessons, the things that push us into discomfort. Yet when we get through them, we gain wisdom, we clear karmic debts, and we actually open the door to better dharma moving forward. So even though it's rough, this storm has a purpose. Now, let's take a peek at what's hidden underneath all this. And here we go, forbidden. For some of you, this is exactly what I was sensing. There's another layer here, and it feels like this person may be tied up in something else. Some other commitment, situation, or connection. That's part of what's creating so much tension and resistance, because who they were when they entered that situation is not who they are anymore. Their perspective has shifted, their soul has evolved, and they don't see things the same way they used to. And that's the friction point, trying to reconcile the old life with this new self that's emerging. But yeah, it really feels like you've triggered something in this person. You've awakened them to something they maybe weren't ready to see before. So why is it showing up as forbidden? 9 of Swords, that's it. That's exactly what wanted to come out with that square energy, and it came out twice. So this is no coincidence. There's definitely a problem here. Someone's in the midst of a major change, but the lifestyle, the circumstances, the reality that both of you are currently in, one or both, it's just not lining up. It's not supportive of what's happening inside of them. It's creating this tension, this sense of, how do I actually go after what I feel drawn toward? How do I pursue what my heart and intuition are pointing me to when everything around me doesn't seem to fit? We've got the Emperor at the bottom and the 7 of Cups. This person is confused, overwhelmed by choices, and honestly, they're at a huge crossroads, like a real life-defining turning point. And this isn't just a little decision. This is big picture. My whole path might be changing type of energy. And it keeps coming up. This storyline of someone standing right at the edge of transformation, but feeling blocked by what their current world looks like. It's like Spirit's been hammering this message lately, and here it is again. We've got the Devil and the 2 of Cups showing up, and right behind that is the 9 of Wands with the 2 of Swords. There it is, confirmation. Let me grab another deck here because I really want to clarify this Devil and 2 of Cups combination. This can go in a couple of directions. It could be pointing to a karmic soulmate connection, or it could be about this person being completely obsessed with you because deep down, they know they can't fully have you as things currently stand. In order to be with you, they'd have to make some serious changes in their life. So let's ask, why is the Devil here with the 2 of Cups? We've got the King of Cups and the Ace. Wow. No, this is clear. This person is absolutely obsessed with you, but not in a shallow way. They're genuinely in love with you. You've awakened something in them, something they didn't even realize they were missing. You crack this Emperor wide open to the emotional side of connections, and honestly, I don't think they were ever really invested in that before. In the past, they may have been very self-focused, career-driven, or just detached emotionally. But this connection with you has triggered them on a deep level, and now they can't stop thinking about you. The Magician sits behind. The Ace of Cups with the King of Pentacles and the 4 of Cups. This tells me their life feels dull and unfulfilling now compared to what they feel when they think of you. Nothing excites them the way this does. Nothing touches their heart in the same way. They're realizing that what once satisfied them doesn't anymore, and that's a tough pill to swallow. This is a hard lesson, one they can't run from. You know what this actually reminds me of? It's got shades of that reading we had yesterday. Not exactly the same energy, but it's definitely a continuation. It feels like Spirit is really showing us that this person is in the thick of learning something huge right now. And unlike before, they're actually absorbing it this time. What's going on with Emotional Storm and Elusive? Well, the truth is they haven't been fully honest, and that's the core issue here. I don't know if that dishonesty is directed at you, at the people around them, or even at themselves about what's really happening in their life. But what's clear is this. This person is absolutely going through it, and they're hiding it deep inside. This feels like an internal tower moment. Everything is crumbling and restructuring within them, and it's directly tied to their shifting perspective, their feelings for you, and the complicated circumstances surrounding this connection. Now, with perspective tied to heartstring, I don't feel this is about stringing someone along in the traditional sense. Instead, this is about a soul-level tether, an invisible thread pulling on their heart. That's what's been reshaping the way they see things. This has been simmering for a long time, and the connection between the two of you has been the catalyst for their awakening. Why is perspective here? Because you've unlocked something in them. You've made them open in a way they've never been before. With that coffin energy, it's like the old version of them is gone. They're in the middle of a death and rebirth cycle, a complete transition. Their heart is moving in a new direction, cracked wide open. But the challenge is that it clashes with the belief system and lifestyle they've built their world on until now. That's why there's so much conflict and turmoil swirling around them. They're trying to reconcile who they were with, who they're becoming. So why is Emotional Storm here? I knew it. I absolutely knew it. And I should have just said it out loud. I was already getting that energy before the card even showed. I was thinking, if we get one of those twin flame cards from this deck, it's going to confirm everything I've been feeling. And sure enough, here it is. Now, we don't have to put labels on this. Not everyone resonates with the whole twin flame concept. But the message is clear. There's a cord, a bond between the two of you. You activate each other on such a deep level that the moment this person crossed paths with you, something inside them began to shift. Their entire belief system started going through an upgrade. For some of them, it may have taken a while for that change to fully register, but that's why we see this emotional storm. That inner transformation is never clean or easy, and there's clearly some kind of obstacle standing in the way. Now we see forbidden and boundaries. Interesting. This can go a couple of ways. For some of you, you may have put up strong boundaries with this person. Maybe because of differences in the past, or because they weren't willing to meet you halfway before. And that's exactly why it feels forbidden to them now. You've drawn a line in the sand. For others, it could be pointing to external circumstances, another situation in their life that makes this connection feel off limits. So let's dig into why boundaries is showing up. We've got the King of Cups, the Six of Wands, and the Hermit. At the bottom, Queen of Cups with Judgment. Wow, this tells me straight away that this person sees you as their counterpart. You've opened their heart in a way no one else has been able to, and they feel it deeply. And here's the thing. I don't know if it's because you set boundaries, because you stood firm in your truth, or simply because you refused to play small. But that's what triggered this shift in them. You forced them to take a hard look at themselves. Their whole perspective on love, relationships, maybe even life itself, is changing because of you. The Six of Wands with the Hermit shows me they secretly want this victory with you. They still want this connection, even if they're not saying it out loud, even if they're keeping it hidden. Inside, they know. They know. Judgment with the Queen of Cups seals it. They recognize this bond. They've woken up to what this really is. For a lot of them, especially if there's been separation, they've gone off and done the research. They've been trying to make sense of why they feel what they feel, why their entire worldview has been shaken. And the only conclusion they can come to is that this connection, this bond with you, is the reason. This is who you are to them. This is why it's happening. Yeah, I mean, it's judgment. They know. There's a deep, undeniable knowing here about this connection. But then we've got the Queen of Swords and the Four of Pentacles showing up, which to me is saying one of two things. Either you've set some pretty firm boundaries and pulled your energy back from this person, maybe because in the past they just didn't show up the way you needed them to, or this could be pointing to some sort of karmic energy still attached to them, which is why they feel like they can't fully step into this with you. So right away, I'm getting that this can play out a couple of different ways depending on your situation. Now, looking at the elusive energy, why is that here? We've got completely done, and honestly, that's exactly it. For some of you, this person feels like maybe you've already shut the door on them, like the connection could be over for good. But for others of you, what I'm picking up is that they're actually completely done with a former lifestyle, with old habits, with old connections that don't resonate anymore. It's like something in their soul is saying, this chapter is closed. And then we come to heartstrings. When we clarify, what shows up is influences. So this could be about you, about how strongly they feel pulled toward you, but it can also be about third-party energy or outside factors. I pulled deeper on that, and the Five of Wands came out. So yeah, I was already sensing it. There are people around them who are not going to like this change they're going through. Conflict, tension, outside voices. But here's the thing, it doesn't even matter anymore. Because once someone has had that awakening, once their perspective shifts like this, they can't go back to seeing the world or this connection the same way. So whether they're in another relationship, surrounded by a certain friend group, or even navigating family expectations, none of it holds the same weight it once did. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Star and the Four of Cups. This person is tired of ignoring what feels destined. They're tired of sitting in dissatisfaction, pretending they don't feel the pull toward you, pretending they don't see this path. And even with all these outside influences trying to steer them away, their heartstrings keep leading them right back here. Six of Pentacles, Knight of Wands. So tell me about the heartstrings here. Why is that showing up? For some of you, this points to a specific person or situation in general that's been trying to keep them stuck, tied down in some way. But what's happening now is this person has had a real perspective shift. They know something here has to end. Because honestly, the gist of this energy is they're going crazy without you. And the very fact that you feel forbidden to them, or that they feel blocked from coming toward you, is only fueling this emotional storm. Page of Wands, Page of Cups, Five of Swords. Yeah, for some of them, kids are involved. And that's where the big conflict lies about being completely done with their old situation. For others, it's not necessarily children, but it does feel like someone in their environment is actively trying to prevent them from making any kind of moves forward. Emperor, Seven of Cups. This could play out differently for each of you. But what I keep seeing is that there's something tied to this person's former life, their old structures or commitments, that's still clinging onto them. And here's the thing. They've already started emotionally detaching from all of this. It's not really their heart holding them back anymore. It's the people, the obligations, or the expectations of others still tied up in their energy. Those cords are still there, still tugging. Coffin the Fool, clear as day. This person wants a brand new beginning. They want to start over. But Page of Pentacles, Temperance. There's still a lesson in progress here. They're in the middle of it, learning through this push and pull. And what it looks like is that the lesson has everything to do with these outside influences, the very forces that have tried to keep them anchored to an outdated mindset or belief system. So, present moment, that's where they're at, caught in conflict, pulled between the storm of wanting freedom and the residue of what's still trying to hold them down. But the shift is here, and they're beginning to see exactly what needs to be released. Chariot, King of Swords. Yeah. This is showing that this person really has no choice but to stand up for themselves and finally move away from whatever has been keeping them stuck. That's the lesson here. And I feel like with everything that's unfolding, the sense of being forbidden, the boundaries, the restrictions between you and them, that's actually becoming the very catalyst pushing them to cut something off and step into action. It's like the more they're blocked, the more it fuels them to want to move forward toward this connection. Now, what that means for each of you will play out differently. For some, I'm picking up 8 of Pentacles, 5 of Pentacles energy. They could be heavily worried about finances, work, or stability. That could be a big factor in why they've been hesitating, almost like they're trying to rebuild or prove something to themselves before they feel ready. But at the core, the push from Spirit here is about them taking ownership, cutting ties with what doesn't serve, and directing their energy back toward what truly matters. So what's completely done here with the Star, the Five of Cups, and the Wheel? Well, it feels like this person has been denying this connection with you for a long time, but they've reached the point where they're just exhausted by that. They're completely done with pretending, done with pushing this away. That's what this energy is. Deep down, they've always known the truth about this bond with you. For a lot of them, they may have withheld that truth, either from you or even from themselves, because of other factors, outside circumstances, or other attachments in their life. But even with all that, they know. Whether we label it twin flames, soulmates, divine counterpart, whatever you resonate with, they know you're their person. That awareness is sitting heavy on their heart. The disappointment runs deep here. For some of you, this could also be flipped. You might be the one who's completely done because they failed to step up, failed to come forward with honesty when they had the chance. And now, they're sitting with that regret. The Wheel is here, though, which means shifts are happening. With the 9 of Cups and 3 of Swords showing up, it looks like if they're in another connection, this person already knows that separation is coming. It's only a matter of time. They're realizing the cost of choosing short-term happiness or comfort over something real, and there's remorse attached to that. They're beginning to see that they can't keep ignoring this, because honestly, they're an emotional wreck without you. The heart can't be silenced anymore. We also see the Page of Swords and 7 of Wands behind this, which tells me they're actively looking into how to defend themselves, how to stand up for what they really want. And that ties right back to the lesson here. It's about them finding the courage to choose authenticity over fear. So, it does look like they're finally on the right track, even if it's been a long road getting here. Tell me about this emotional storm. Okay, 8 of Cups. Somebody here, whether it was you or them, walked away from this connection. Bottom of the deck, we've got 9 of Wands and 2 of Swords, which tells me they're at their breaking point. They're exhausted. They're worn out from this endless crossroads energy. It feels like this connection has been stuck there with you for a long time, and they're tired of it. 9 of Swords, 10 of Swords. This person thinks it's over. They think it's done. For some, they know deep down that an ending has to take place elsewhere in their life before they can even approach this connection properly. 3 of Cups, 2 of Pentacles. There's juggling, there's distractions, but the truth remains. This person knows exactly what this connection is. Straight up. They haven't told you, though. That's the kicker here. A lot of you walked away because you weren't getting the validation, the honesty, or the openness you needed. And yet, despite everything, because of how intense this bond is, you were willing to wait it out, willing to work through the mess with them no matter how long it took. That's how powerful this tie is. But here's the reality. They were still holding on to an old belief system, an old way of life, a path they were on before you came into the picture. And that stopped them from showing up fully, from being transparent about what this really is between you two. It wasn't about you not being enough. It was about them not being ready to break free from what they already knew. And if you know this journey, you already understand. It's never designed to be easy or ideal circumstances. Because if it was simple, there would be no growth, no lessons, and no transformation. That's what makes it so difficult, but also so profound. So, 3 of Cups and 2 of Pentacles. This person is juggling, and the decision is clear, whether or not to finally come forward and tell you the truth. Behind that sits the Tower and 4 of Swords, which shows they've been holding back out of fear. They know that if they confess what they really know about this connection, it could cause a tower moment, either in their life or possibly even in yours. That's the energy coming through here. Now, when we look at this perspective shift, we've got the 3 of Wands, Queen of Swords, Queen of Cups, 6 of Wands, and the Hermit. This is someone who has been watching, waiting, trying to gain clarity. On one hand, they see you as the Queen of Swords, someone who has boundaries, who won't accept less than the truth. On the other hand, they also feel the Queen of Cups energy from you, your compassion, your emotional depth, and the fact that they know you care. Together with the 6 of Wands, this tells me they want victory with you. But the Hermit shows that they're still retreating, still trying to figure out how to approach this without it all collapsing around them. The King of Cups and the Magician also show up here, and that's powerful. This person wants you, no question. They're aware of the truth, and they're aware that to have you, they'd need to step fully into that King of Cups energy, emotional maturity, honesty, action, and actually manifest change. They're at a crossroads. Either they end something in their life and step up, or they continue to sit in this emotional storm, always wondering what could have been with you. And here's the real message. For those of you where this person chooses not to stand up for themselves, you won't be waiting. You'll move forward, and the universe will align to bring in another higher-level soulmate, someone who can meet you where you're at. The lesson here is clear. This person either learns, grows, and acts, or they stay stuck while you rise. Tell me about this Queen of Swords. Who or what is this energy really about? We've got the 10 of Swords, 9 of Swords, Judgment, 7 of Swords, then Ace of Swords and the Sun. Okay, so I'm picking up 2 clear layers here. For those of you where your person is not currently connected to someone else, this is you. Queen of Cups, Queen of Swords energy. They fully understand now why you had to put up those boundaries, why you pulled back. They see it's because they weren't honest with you. And now there's this deep fear that it's completely over, that you've shut the door for good. They're still hoping it's not, but in their mind, judgment has already been passed. 7 of Swords with Judgment. This is them realizing the truth they tried to hide has already been exposed. Some of you may have made a final judgment call on this situation with the Ace of Swords and the Sun. You saw things clearly and acted accordingly. And they know, if they ever want to reach you again, they have to come clean. No more hiding. Now, for those of you where your person is connected to someone else, this Queen of Swords is representing that other figure. This is someone who already knows the truth. They can't pretend not to see it anymore. They're aware of what's coming. They know an ending is inevitable. 3 of Wands shows me they're not in the planning stage anymore. They've already crossed that. They're simply waiting now, waiting for the timing, waiting for something to line up. But judgment has already been placed on that 7 of Swords. The truth isn't just leaking out. It's blinding. It cannot be hidden anymore. And with Justice and the Two of Cups showing up here, your person knows they owe you truth, they owe you balance, they owe you fairness. They want this union, they want you. But for that to happen, justice has to be served. They have to do their part in bringing balance back, even if that means cutting ties and being brutally honest about what's been hidden. Let's dive into the twin flame energy. What's coming through here? The Emperor. Yeah, for the majority of you, this is your divine masculine, your DM. And deep down, you've always known that. The difference now is that they know it too. Maybe before they were confused, maybe they ran, maybe they denied it, but not anymore. Six of Cups? Oh wow, this is a powerful soul recognition. You two have done this dance countless times across lifetimes, and the bond is undeniable. Then we've got the Fool. This energy says they can't hold back any longer. They know they're meant to come toward you, and it's like their soul won't allow them to do otherwise. It's not even about boundaries at this point. They're reaching a place where they don't care about restrictions or obstacles, because their knowing is stronger. Two of Wands with the Ace of Pentacles. They're standing at this crossroads, but the decision is already made. They know the direction they want to take, and it's straight toward you with something real, something solid, something they want to offer you. Now, of course, there's still some unfinished business, loose ends that need to be tied up, things in their world that have to be closed out before this new beginning can fully manifest. But make no mistake, this person knows. They feel it, and it's like an unstoppable pull. Wow, my loves, this is powerful. And I think we're just about out of time here. All right, my loves, I'm going to leave it here for now. I do hope it brought some clarity and reassurance to those of you who needed it. If it resonated, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy these readings, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future ones. Sending you all so much love, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys!